Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome, welcome, welcome. You have found us here at Crime Time on A Mighty Blaze. I am your host, Hank Phillippi Ryan, the USA Today bestselling author of 13 going on 14 novels of suspense. My current book is Her Perfect Life, which I have slapped on the door behind me. I know you all have books on your doors as well. And my new book coming out in February is called The House Guest, and we will talk about that when I know. Look at that, right, Alexandra? Look at her sunglasses.
Beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful. But speaking of beautiful, look at this gorgeous book that we are talking about today. Today we are talking to Alexandra Benedict, who comes to us from Eastbourne in the UK, and we are so pleased that you are here today. Oh, let me just show you this one more time. So this is her newest book, called The Christmas Murder Game, and nothing goes with Christmas like murder, right? We know that, which came out earlier this year from Source Books and Poison Pen, two fabulous publishers who are linked, and we love them, and we love this book. Let me just show you this cover. Alexandra, when you first saw this cover, what did you think?
I was excited and relieved and overjoyed because you never quite know what you're going to get. And it's perfect. It says exactly what the book is in tone and feel and subject, while being quite simple in construction. And it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. I want to show it to you all one more time, one of many more times. And one of you lucky viewers, and I see, oh, look how many people are here. Nancy and Diane and Sherry and Pamela and Lynn and Shannon and Susie and Renee and Catherine. Oh my gosh, and Anissa is here. Welcome, welcome, welcome to you all to talk about The Christmas Murder Game by Alexandra Benedict. And we'll hear all about this book in just a minute. And one of you, as I was trying to say, will win a copy of this. So leave a question or a comment or just general adulation and applause for Alexandra Benedict's new book. And we will give away on the Wheel of Fun. We will spin the Wheel of Fun at the end of the show, and you will win your very own copy of this book. Not this one, since I am keeping this forever, but you will get your own copy. If you are new to A Mighty Blaze, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so pleased you are here tonight. A Mighty Blaze was started at the beginning of the pandemic by the powerhouse team of Jenna Blum and Caroline Levitt to keep us introducing us to new books and discovering new books and meeting your favorite authors, and we hope making some new favorite authors as well. And we are continuing no matter what. Let me introduce you to Alexandra Benedict very quickly. Alexandra Benedict, and then I promise I will let her talk. I know it just seems like I'm just talking the whole time, and I'm doing it as fast as I can because I want to get to the questions about our wonderful book for the day. And Alexandra, you are so patient. But let me tell you, if you are not familiar with the fabulous Alexandra Benedict, a little bit more about her. She has been a composer, singer-songwriter, actor, and lecturer in crime fiction, and is now an award-winning writer of novels, short stories, and scripts. As A.K. Benedict, she writes high-concept novels, speculative short stories, and scripts. Her first novel, the critically acclaimed The Beauty of Murder, was nominated for the E. Dunnett Award. Her short stories have been featured in many anthologies, and her audio drama has been shortlisted for multiple awards, including the BBC Audio Drama Award 2020, and twice for the Scribe Award, winning it in 2019, which is really a big deal, both of those things. So now, as Alexandra Benedict, sitting right here with her gorgeous Christmas headband, she writes contemporary tributes and takes on Golden Age fiction. And I know all of you love Golden Age fiction, just as Alexandra does, and I do too. That's how I got into mysteries, actually, and we can talk about that. The Christmas Murder Game was an Amazon fiction bestseller and was long-listed for the CWA Gold Dagger Award. And she's got another book coming up in the US. It's already out in the UK, called The Murder on the Christmas Express. Guess where that came from, you all? And it will be here at this time next year. So we will invite Alexandra back to talk about that. Lives on the south coast of England with her fiance, writer Guy Adams, their daughter, and their dog, Dame Margaret Rutherford, which is the best dog name I have ever heard. Did she just arrive being Dame Margaret, or did you choose that for your own love?
I chose it entirely because when she was a puppy, she had the indomitable wiggle of the bum of Dame Margaret Rutherford, and I love Dame Margaret with all my heart, and so that's what she had to be called.
And did she grow into the role even more? Is she Snoopy and she's nosy and she's in everybody's business?
Completely, and very barky and shouty if anyone is doing anything ever, anywhere. She wants to know exactly what's going on, who's in charge, and my goodness, she wants to sort it out.
Oh, that's great. Well, that's adorable. She turned out to be just perfect. I'm looking over here because I'm trying to show your book again. I want to be careful when I talk about this book, but I'm also just, it is so much fun. It is so entertaining. It is such a page turner and such a joy to read. Absolutely unique and ingenious and so much fun. And I know all of you, here's a Renee. Hi, Renee. And Nancy says, love dogs. They rule.
They
Very
do.
and Sherry Steuben says, I see a theme in the book, smiley face, and we will talk about that in a minute. But Alexandra, tell us about this book. It's sort of it's a book about a game, but it is a game. Talk about that a little bit.
Yes. So on the first level, it is a murder mystery in the style of Agatha Christie and other Golden Age writers, set in a manor house in England at Christmas. And Lily Armitage, a young woman who basically stepped away from her family and their big manor house in Yorkshire when her mother died 21 years ago. But now that her aunt has died and the house is going to be going to someone, she is going to go back one more time to take part in the annual Christmas game to see who is going to win the manor house. Only the game itself will reveal to her who killed her mother. So she is coming back and playing a game, but the reader also plays a game. I love having fun with readers. And in all of my books, I've had lots of different layers and games, but I haven't actually told anyone about them. It was just for me. And then I thought, as this was a book about a game, it's just time to invite people in and have fun. So I've set up anagrams of old Golden Age crimes set at Christmas. There are also perfume names that I've scattered throughout. That's another game, and Bowie references. So there are lots and lots of layers of games that readers can have fun with if they want to, or ignore it if they don't.
Yes, and I want to talk to you about that in a minute because I think that's one of the things that you did so beautifully in this book. You can read it like a really solid mystery without trying to figure it out yourself, or you can just dive right into it as solving the mystery yourself. So let me show you. And in this copy of the book, it's sort of Agatha Christie meets Clue. It's it's so much fun, and I know you all played Clue. Here is a map at the beginning of where everything in the house is, just in case you need to refer to that. And then there's do you love this? And there's the Armitage family tree, which is fantastic. And then there's a little explanation, the game within the Christmas murder game. And I will leave this to you to read it yourself, to have the joy of the fun of this. So let's talk about the book, and then we'll talk about the game part of the book. Tell us about Lily Armitage. I know that Margaret, who's our producer, will love this because Lily is a costume designer.
Yes, she is. She is brilliant at embroidery, and she's a corsetier. So she does historical replicas of famous corsets and dresses. And she has made and wears lots of different dresses throughout her time at Endgame House during the Christmas period. And that's partly because I love embroidery too. That's my calm go-to place. Every evening I sit and watch television with my husband while I embroider things. So it's also a lovely way to sew things into the book. So it's another metaphor basically. But on one level, I just love making things. So on this tree here, I've got all of my little handmade decorations, and
so beautiful. Oh, that's so sweet. And I can see that the way your mind works is do you write with an outline as well? Is your embroidery free form, or does it have a pattern and you're filling in the pattern as you go?
I love that as an analogy. That's yes. Basically, I give myself an outline, and then I decide what sequence or which stitch that goes in each section. So I can let my imagination run free while also having the security of an outline in place, which is important in this kind of plotting of the crime, both to have that structure and the boning of the corset in place, and then let myself have fun with the embroidery.
And Lily, and then we'll get to Endgame House. Lily is such a lovely person, and we are endeared to her instantly. She is such a loner, and she's by herself. She doesn't want to go for so many reasons to Endgame House to play this Christmas game. What did it feel like to write her? She's a sweet, smart, vulnerable person.
She is, and I fell in love with her as I was writing her, and she is partly me, as all of our characters have that element that is us. And while I was writing her, I was also going through diagnosis for being on the autistic spectrum, and I realize now, looking back, that Lily is neurodivergent and pieces things together like I do. Like there is her brain works in a slightly different way, so she is able to solve the crime that takes place because her brain is different. And I think I explored my own neurodivergence through Lily, and what a lovely way to do it, because she's accepting and kind, and clever, and it was lovely to spend time with her.
And I agree with you. It is lovely to spend time with her. One of the things that I thought was so incredibly endearing and touching was she realized that she was smarter than everyone else, and as a result, pretended that she didn't know the answer to things, as so many people do when they're in that sort of stage. They don't want to be the center of attention. They don't want always to win. And I thought that was so sweet of her.
It's a vulnerable place to be if you show yourself up to people for being clever or thinking you know things, and so hiding away is safer. But it also takes bravery to stand forward and say, I think I know this, and that's to take charge of things. It takes courage.
It does. And she's lovely. And we love her even more throughout as she blooms and blossoms and sort of gets in a little bit of control of her life. This is a game, the Christmas game at Endgame House has been a tradition in her family for years. First, let's talk about Endgame House itself, the setting. Is that based on a real place? And how did the embroidery of Endgame House develop in your head?
I love visiting stately homes and manor houses in the UK, in England and Scotland and Wales. So many beautiful old houses that have been restored to how they were in the 19th or 20th, early 20th centuries. And so it's an amalgam of about 5 different houses that I know quite well, and would go to and walk around and marvel at these grand ballrooms and the dining rooms and the drawing rooms and the library, and particularly the library, and lots of hotels that used to be grand old houses that I've stayed in and marveled at. So it's basically a way of me getting to stay in one of those places and live there for a bit, and hopefully for a reader to spend time there like a holiday, well, not having to afford it.
And it's gorgeous. The way you describe the settings and the furnishings and the curtains and the books and the food and everything is absolutely sumptuous and luscious and amazing. But then you call it Endgame House, which is very sinister. Talk a little bit about, and very meta. Talk a little bit about why you named it that.
It was one of those moments where I was sitting there writing the outline, and I need a name for the house. And very quickly it was Endgame. Just popped in, one of those moments where you go, well, that's clearly it. It was always supposed to be Endgame. And it's supposed to have that finality, that it is going to come in to a pincer movement at the end, just to set up at the beginning what will happen at the end. I like to have little meta layers going on, that as a little wink to the reader that they're having fun as well.
Well, we're talking about The Christmas Murder Game, you all, by Alexandra Benedict. If you just joined us from Sourcebooks and Poison Pen. Well, talk about meta. This book is super meta on every level. I was looking for clues throughout. I think I probably found clues that weren't even there. You know, I was just making things.
That's brilliant.
Making things into clues. But going back to the Christmas game at Endgame, as Lily was growing up, this was something that she and her siblings and her cousins did, and it was fun for prizes.
Yes.
In this particular time, in this particular game, when she's gone back to play, the prize is something else, and it's 2 layers of prizes for her. Talk a little bit about the prize everybody thinks they're going for, and the prize Lily thinks she's going for. And this is not giving anything away, you all.
No. Aunt Liliana, who has just died, is Lily's wonderful aunt. And she has set up a game this game is for someone to win the house itself. So on each of the 12 days of Christmas, there will be a clue that has to be solved. And in one of the rooms in the house, they will find a key. Now, there are going to be 12 keys for the 12 days of Christmas, and one of those keys will open the door to the room that will have the deeds to the house, and it will be inherited by the winner. So that's the top layer, where the house is the end game itself. That's the prize. It's inheriting the land, the estate, everything that goes with it, and to do with it as they wish.
And then on the next level, what Lily is there for is not the house. In fact, we'll just skip that part. But she is looking for something else. Her game is something else.
Yes, Aunt Liliana also said privately to Lily before she died that within the game, there would be clues to what happened when her mother died. So 21 years ago, when Lily's mother died, it seemed to be that she killed herself. But Lily hasn't believed that, and she has refused to believe that. And Aunt Liliana is now going to be telling her what happened through the clues. So she doesn't want the house. She wants nothing to do with it, but she wants the knowledge of what happened to her mum. So that's why she is trying to find those keys.
And it's such a powerful motivation. And, you know, she needs to come to terms with facing whether she wants to know this and what that would reveal if she does find it out.
Absolutely. She goes through conflict during that narrative, during the book. Sometimes she really wants to know, and she gets closer to her mum, and then finds out things that make her pull back and say, maybe I should just leave this alone in the past where it shouldn't be. Leave it at the bottom of that stocking and don't go down there. But she has to face it. And it is that process of going, no, I need to know, that she finds some of the strength, resolve that she needs to get to the end.
And she can use her own wit and intelligence to get there. So she's a powerful character who really comes into her own and takes control of her life a little bit. And she has to take control because there's this amazing cast of characters who are also playing the game, who I have to say, reading it through an author lens, as we talked about earlier, the characters are so differentiated and so easy to keep track of. And the personalities are so strong. I remember when I was reading along, there was something, dialogue said, and I said to myself, Sarah, and turned the page, and it was Sarah. So Alexandra, you have done this. Talk about the realm of characters in the book.
They arrived quite fully formed in my head as well. Once I started thinking about who would be in that family, what kind of personalities would have emerged out of both the genetics of Liliana and the people that she was with at the time, and also that environment of a manor house in the North Yorkshire countryside, being isolated, but also growing up when it was a conference centre and an out of bounds centre where it's not like they are aristocracy. They are just a normal family in this very abnormal setting. And how has that created the tensions and conflicts that run throughout this family? And they just came through. So Ronnie, I loved very quickly. He came into my set, the same as Tom. He barreled in. Sarah came very quickly afterwards, just sniping and snipping and but I had a lot of fun writing Sarah. That's where you can get out quite a lot of the shadow self can come through.
But it did show. It did emerge. That is marvelous. But I do think that, everybody has a secret or two, and everybody wants something. And it's that drive to get something for themselves, of what they think they deserve, or what they think Lily doesn't deserve, or whether what they should have because of fill in the blank of their own motivation.
Yeah.
How did you decide what each person wanted?
I sort of talk to the characters. I often go out and basically take them for a drink and go and sit in a cafe or a restaurant and sit and talk with them. So I do a stream of consciousness chat, and then they speak to me. So it's actually allowing them space to talk to me.
And allowing them space to grow.
Yes.
As well, so they might say something to you that you don't realize that they thought, which might be so much fun.
Oh, completely. And then also looking at what could be underneath what they're saying to me. So it's quite the psychological exercise if I actually thought it through too much. But I don't like to. I like to just sort of let the magic happen.
The characters all crash together, but for a reason, and it makes sense to us as we're reading it. I wonder, was the idea for this from wanting to write a puzzle that was stated, or from wanting to write a country house mystery or a game? What was the evolution of how and if you just joined us, we're talking about the Christmas Murder Game, a perfect gift for readers, I must say. Plenty of time to still get it before Christmas. What was the evolution of this story?
When my editor started saying she knew I loved Christmas, she knew I loved Golden Age crime, and said, what I really want from you is a Christmas contemporary mystery in a manor house. And I went, yes, please. So that was that was all there was to start with. And then I went away, and it just started growing very quickly. I sat down with it, and the structure of the game, the 12 Days of Christmas, came quite quickly. And then I decided that they would come in the form of sonnets, and thought, I get to write some sonnets. That's fun. And it just kind of built out from that very simple, generic, really, beginning is a Christmas crime in an English manor house. And then it's finding ways to differentiate from all the other, I love that as a trope, but it's finding my prism through which to show it.
And it is so unique. I have never read a book like The Christmas Murder Game. But I do wonder, the skill that you needed to balance that readers would not readers need a good, solid, fair mystery where they have the clues. There has to be the real story there that would stand on its own without having to play along. So if you decide you want to have the fun of playing along, that's great, and you can do it. But if you just want to see what happens, it's just as much fun to read it that way. Talk a little bit about that balance.
I think it's essential that the reader doesn't feel like they've got homework to do, that it's not that I expect something from them, or that they need to be a certain person to read or play along. I just want to provide lots of fun entertainment, as if walking into a games room and going, I want to do the pinball or darts or billiards, or so that people can take what they want from it. And so I go, here you go. And if people just don't want to find the anagrams, they just don't have to. They're just there for fun and larks. It's the brandy on top of the Christmas pudding that I can light. If if they want me to. Otherwise, there is a Christmas murder mystery where the manor house will be won by someone and crimes take place.
Well, I pour on the brandy for me because I completely loved it. But the rules are, I mean, you have made these nefarious and hilarious rules. If you don't show up on time, if you don't show up on time, you're kicked out. If you leave, you can't leave. All these things are, and we're all of us. I'm looking over here at all of the comments. Vicky says the game's at a new and welcome challenge. And Mary Garrett says optional extra fun. I love it. And Susie Baldwin says this book has it all. So excited to read. And Nancy A says brandy for me too. New motto. It's the new motto of Crime Time. But I wonder, where did the rules come from? It seems you have created this game that has a feeling of not new, that this is always how it's been played. I feel as if I should know this already. Talk a little bit about creating a tradition.
That's a lovely question. I'm really into rituals and the richness of the repeated time that gathers momentum and myth throughout the years and passes it on. And I would have loved to have the tradition in my house of 12 days where you solve clues and you get your presents over 12 days rather than in one glut. I think that would be quite lovely. And to search through the house. I've got a tiny house, so we'd find the presents quite quickly. So I think it's just me having a lot of fun. So what would I love? And there's also partly the author structuring approach in that I needed to take away their mobile phones because for obvious reasons, really, because it's just too easy for them to get help. But actually that would be how they would try and solve some of the clues. Some of the puzzles would need the internet, but the internet's taken away from them. So they can't use their phones. They've got no laptops, no iPads, nothing, which actually makes people feel very vulnerable, which is quite interesting.
I mean, that's what I was thinking about, the rules you have set up that feel on one level like the rules of the game. And on the other level, on the author level, every single one of them sets up a conflict. You can't, you're trapped. You can't call anyone, but it doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like contrived conflict. It feels like, oh yeah, that's the rules, no phone. And even the people who try to circumvent the rules, well, I guess this is a piece of paper in the house, so that's okay. So it's not quite fair.
Yes.
And that's another thing that's really cool about reading it.
Yes, there are. People will always try to find ways around rules or through rules or under rules. And even Liliana, who set the rules in this occasion, has also bypassed them in her own way. So everyone is nefarious, as you say. There are motives on every side to challenge the game itself.
The anagrams are so much fun. And I remember the scene. Did you see the movie Rosemary's Baby? When she's trying to figure out the anagrams and she uses Scrabble, and it makes it easier to move the Scrabble tiles, which I always thought was so chilling. How did you do the anagrams? On paper, or did your head just redo the letters? How do you do that?
I put them out on paper. So it is effectively like using Scrabble tiles. So I will cut up pieces and then move them around. And so, yeah.
Is that fun to come up? Have you always loved anagrams?
I love anagrams. I love anything to do with wordplay, and linguistic chicanery is just wonderful. It really excites me, and punning in itself, or anything where I can have fun with language, is brilliant. So anagrams are brilliant.
And fun with language is throughout the Christmas murder game. It's a marvelous story. It's a heartbreaking, touching, heartwarming story. It's also clever as pie. Speaking of pie, the food, Alexandra, is sumptuous and absolutely delicious. Talk about the menus and the food a little bit.
Well, I love Christmas food. My house at the moment is full of food that we cannot possibly all eat, that we're going to be shared around as many people as possible. So writing about food, particularly when it's not Christmas and the mince pies aren't available in the shops. So I love to write about it. The spices, the smells, the cloves and the oranges. Oh, the mulled wine.
Oh,
Mm.
and the good champagne, which was
Oh, yes.
the story as well. I asked you in the green room before. There's a word for something that seemed like cake to me called parkin,
Yeah.
and you also I didn't know what it was, what parkin was, and Alexandra said, "Oh, I have some." So and she went out of the room and brought it back. So tell us what parkin is, if you all don't know.
Well, Parkin is a particularly Yorkshire, which is a northern county in England, and so Parkin is it's kind of like gingerbread, but using oatmeal to kind of bulk it up. So it has lots of spices, particularly ginger, and really small bits of oatmeal and treacle. So it's dense and delicious and it's got spice. You break a piece off and it's squidgy and moist, and oh, it's amazing. And with a big mug of tea, quite strong tea, it's perfect.
This is when I wish we were in person. I wish I was born with you having tea and parkin. That would just be.
Love that.
And we'd love to have you come with us, to all of you who are here today to hear about The Christmas Murder Game by Alexandra Benedict. And we'll get to your questions in a minute or two. But let me ask you first, the Golden Age mysteries, Niall Marsh and Josephine Tay and Marjorie Allingham, we love those books. Did you read them from when you were a kid?
Yes, I was 8, and my next door neighbour had all of the Agatha Christie books on her shelves, and she just let me go in one summer holiday when I was 8, and I just took one off the shelf every day and read it. So I sat under a tree and ate apples and read Agatha Christie, and it was the best summer holiday. It was wonderful. And I've read it ever since.
I remember reading Murder on the Orient Express when I was about that age.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, what? How did she do that? And that has been just such a point of reference for me throughout my entire writing career, is to be as clever as that, to give all the clues as you do in The Christmas Murder Game, and then to have a result that you can figure out. You could figure it out if only you were as smart as Alexandra Benedict, which you are probably not. So I dare you to solve this puzzle. Did you always want to be a writer?
I did. Since I can remember, I have loved books and stories. So I remember very clearly saying at my play school, sort of when I was 4 or so, I'm going to be a writer. And started writing poems and stories and putting on plays for my family and cousins from when I was 4 or 5. So I've got my childhood dream, which is amazing.
And everyone seems to be embracing this childhood dream of yours. Your books are so acclaimed. I wonder, you were talking about the Audio Drama Award, that you have been so successful in audio as well. And I wonder if doing audio drama changes the way you write books that are meant to be read.
I think I've been involved in music for a long time, and I have quite a clear ear for dialogue. So I think they both inform each other. I've always loved writing dialogue and trying to show characterization through it. And radio drama, that's even more important to convey and to try and get across exactly what's happening in a scene without making it clear that that's what you're doing. That's also a game in itself. So writing radio feels like a fun challenge to get across to the reader the atmosphere, the smells and the sights and the sounds, while just through dialogue and sound design.
But in a book you also get this gorgeous cinematic writing of yours. I mean, I can see that house and I can see those people and I can see that food and the rooms and the bedding and the library. Does that just emerge in your brain? Can you see that?
I can. And I kind of build it up from smell upwards. So I start with what a smell. I have a library of about 1,000, 1,500 different bottles of smells that I choose them before I start writing and start smelling them. So I know the smell of the book and the smell of the scene.
Wait. I, I am speechless. I am stunned. I have never heard this in my entire life, and I am old. Oil of bergamot and lemon and
Um,
raspberry and how in vials in a row.
Yeah, if I was in my study, then I could show you all of they're like little apothecary vials. And they're not essential oils, but there are some essential oils in them. But there are indie perfume makers, including Black Phoenix Alchemy Lab and Nocturne Alchemy and Nuit Cobalt. And they are all these brilliant perfumiers who do perfume oils like Graveyard Dirt or Pomander or mulberry wine, and they all can combine to create this library of smells that I use to build up my scenes, and then everything else comes from it.
You are making me cry. That is just so beautiful and evocative. And now I just want to go do that. I mean, that's just, I mean, and it comes through in the book. There is a real tone, as we're talking about the Christmas murder game. There is a real tone of this book that's terrifying and traditional, and the smells of the pine tree and the cranberries and all of that are so wonderful about this. You all, have you not loved this so much? We're coming to time. Sharon says you are not old. Like, oh yes, I am, sister. Oh, that's all right. All good. I've learned stuff. I've learned about graveyard. What did she call it?
Graveyard Dirt.
Graveyard dirt. And you can smell that. You know what that smells like. Not that you'd actually want to. Margie says, I've been waiting for this book, mystery book, for a long time. The Christmas murder game we all have. And Vicky says, so glad for the introduction to such a creative artist. Just
thank you, Vicky.
All the senses. Really, really lovely. What do you say, Margaret, in the back room? Let's take some questions. Do you have time, Alexandra, to answer a couple?
Absolutely, please.
I'll take a couple of questions from today's audience. What was the initial idea, the holiday setting or something else? True, because it wouldn't have to be Christmas.
I think the idea was for me to write a Christmas novel because I love it so much. So it was to crystallize my love of Christmas and my love of crime and bring them together. So that was the crucible at the very center, and everything grew out of that.
It also gives you so much stuff that you can put in it. There's tradition, that there are people that may not have to work. It's probably going to be cold. There are kinds of food that you would want, and decorations and expectations and gifts and all those kinds of things built in.
Oh, yes, it actually has quite a lot just there ready to be unwrapped.
Yeah.
And family conflicts are often at the heart of some people's Christmases. So that feeling that if you are stuck in one place with a family that hasn't been getting on for a very long time, then things will implode and explode.
A family gathering, of course, at Christmas, and a potentially unpleasant family gathering where some people think it is better to receive than to give, especially.
Absolutely.
What happens in the Christmas murder game. Was this always the title, says Shannon Hansen? I love it.
Absolutely. Right from the start, that's the title. Because it says what it is.
It says what it is. And it is absolutely irresistible. And from the moment you open the book, you are just involved in the game, just like opening a real game. Well, it is a real game, but opening a box game, you see the rules and you think, okay, I am in. And you also think, and this is interesting too, and I just thought of it, you also think, I'm going to win. I need to win. And I wonder if that's also a driver for readers.
Yeah, that absolutely. And I think lots of readers who love mysteries and crime, they do want to win. They want to solve at the same time or even in front of the protagonist. But there's also lots of layers to winning, and hopefully I can tease a few of those out.
Definitely you have. Absolutely you have. And I know I have said before that when my husband and I are watching crime shows on TV, I'm always trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
I'll say, it's the water, she's pregnant, it's the sister. And Jonathan says, can't you just watch this? And I'm like, no, but he can, but he,
Yeah.
and I think that's one of the glories of this book as well. You can read and play along, or you can read and just enjoy it. Do we have time for one more question, Margaret? Your site says tales of crime, fantasy, and the strange. Yes, you do write other genres. And someone was asking me about the Slice Girls. Tell us a little bit about your other life.
Well, I also write, so my audio drama is often horror or ghost stories, science fiction. I've written a lot of Doctor Who audio drama. So I have a foot in several camps. If I've only got 2 feet, but they straddle quite a few camps. I just love to do that. I like to pull genres together. So under A.K. Benedict, when I write either short stories, radio drama, or novels, it's usually bringing crime with something else. So crime with time travel for my first novel, crime with ghosts. My next novel, as A.K. Benedict, called Little Red Death, is crime and fairy tales. So that's quite meta as well. So I love to just have fun, basically. And that comes through in all elements. And I kind of see genres as very fluid anyway, that the tropes you can mix and match and have fun.
A good story is a good story. And you have done that so gorgeously in the Christmas Murder Game. Let's spin the wheel of fun and see who will win a copy of the Christmas Murder Game. And here we go. And we're going to draw for the winner.
I love this.
Isn't it great? We need one of these to make decisions every day. And the winner is Shannon Hansen.
Yay!
Shannon Hansen, who I call Shanson.
Nice.
Because in one of my first programs, I tried to say her name too quickly, Shannon Hansen. And I said Shanson, and I thought, okay, that's her name. Anyway, Shanson, you win the Christmas Murder Game, and we will give you information about how to get that. Alexandra, congratulations on this book. It is just so much fun and so perfect for this time of year. And I'm allowed to say this, even though you aren't. You all should get this as a gift for anybody who loves mysteries. It's perfect, and you can get it in plenty of time. And it is absolutely irresistible. The Christmas Murder Game by Alexandra Benedict. Happy holidays to you.
Thank you very much. Happy holidays to you and to everyone watching.
And we want you back for your next book, which is called
Murder on the Christmas Express.
You know what that's going to be, right? And we will talk about that next November, I hope. Until we're taking a little bit of a break, you all, just a tiny bit of a 2-week break for the holidays, basically so I can finish my book, which is at now 118,000 words. And I don't know the ending, and it can only be 95,000 words. So you just do the math. And that's why I need 2 weeks off. But when we come back, I'm turning to get this on January the 10th. We will talk to Jordan Harper, whose new book, everybody knows, is sizzling. You can see whether that's fire or fog, or it's a face.
Oh,
look at that. Talk about mixing genres. So we will see you here on January the 10th. Until then, from all of us at Crime Time, from Margaret and Karen and Bosie and all of us and Maxwell and Jenna at Crime Time and A Mighty Blaze, happy, happy, happy New Year. And remember, it is always safe inside a book. And we will see you next time.